AI, Chat GPT, assignments, plagiarism. These are a few words that are probably percolating in your mind right now. But how can you properly use the power of AI to go from a pass to an ace in law? Hi, and welcome to the Law Simplified. I'm Shraveen Bandaranaike. Over the past several months, a common thread among students from all around the world, be it those who watch these YouTube videos, my Fast Track and Masterclass one-on-one students from across the globe, is that of AI, Chat GPT, and how exactly can you help it leverage your responses. The answer to this quite directly would be in no way, shape, or form. Now, by that, I don't mean that you should not leverage or use artificial intelligence or ChatGPT. But there is a particular way that you should be using it, not just from a moral or ethical standpoint, but also from the perspective of bettering yourself. Now, over the past several weeks, I've done some experiments myself with ChatGPT and AI, and the results have been somewhat perplexing. On the one hand, when you do use the power of AI to try and harness the vast quantities of data and information into a digestible set of similar or interesting facts, it does work. But from a legal standpoint, where accuracy, arguments, and articulation reign supreme, it might not necessarily be the best tool to just simply copy and paste. However, if you are intending to use AI and ChatGPT, I would argue one of the best ways to do so is to utilize the power of AI to compartmentalize, summarize, and feed you with the most important facts and arguments of relatively long cases, articles, and legislative instruments. What do I mean by this? One of the common banes of students across the globe when it comes to a law degree is the vast quantities of information that you might have to go through. Whether you are a first year, second year, third year, or an LLM and a PhD student, you cannot escape the fact that there's a lot of reading in law. What you might want to do if you have access to these AI tools is to feed the necessary information to this tool in order to get a summary of a case or an article for that matter. Now, mind you, you have to always take this with a grain of salt. There are instances, for example, when you do mention a case name and ask ChatGPT or AI to summarize it, you might not necessarily get the most important information. Specifically, what I've noted is that certain AI tools are incapable of actually harnessing or extracting, let's say, the most important bits of the argument. In other words, when you have a case which has a multitude of judgments incorporated into it, perhaps a single dissent as well, the system finds it difficult to articulate what's the most appropriate response to provide for you. One of the interesting factors that I have noted that you may want to use in terms of AI and ChatGPT is to look at it from the perspective of understanding complex case law. Now, if you're a first year law student, for instance, there's quite a popular or rather infamous case in contract law called Power On and Law U Long. So Power On is a case which relates to past consideration. And most students, I would argue 80 to 90% of students, at least in the first go, finds it difficult to wrap one's head around the concepts behind Power On. So use ChatGPT or any other AI tool to give you a summary of it in a relatively broken down, summarized, simplified manner. Now, I've done this on a number of occasions to help me articulate responses to students in terms of questions that they might have. Because from a lecturer or from a professor's standpoint, the way that we understand a particular concept, a particular argument, having taught that particular subject matter or the topic for several years, is vastly different to a student who's just approaching that module. So I personally have found that Chat GPT and certain AI tools have made it possible for me to simplify it into separate levels of understanding. Have a look at some of the example outcomes or other simplified outcomes of cases that I've provided for in the description below the like button. The reason why I'm putting this video out as well is because there is a misnomer that ChatGPT or AI is bad in terms of your assessments and exams, or the complete contrast or opposite of this component, whereas most students think, hey, why don't I just use AI and ChatGPT to get my essays written? While this might not be quite clear cut in this context, and this is something you might understand later on in your academics, most of the responses churned out by AI models such as ChatGPT is quite hollow. And especially in a subject area like law, depth is quite important. Examiners, assessors are capable of discerning a student who has superficially looked at a matter and those who have articulated responses relatively argumentatively. If you like the type of content that I make on this channel, especially in relation to this new format in terms of AI, ChatGPT, and you feel like there's more that you would like to learn, make sure you leave a comment below so that I'll get to perhaps making a series out of it, even a how-to guide on the way you can leverage on AI and ChatGPT to go from a pass to an ace in terms of your assessments and exams. If you do want to find out how to properly break down problem-based as well as essay questions and articulate responses at a first-class level, I do recommend having a look at the comprehensive online law school platform, which is complete with theory, tutorial, and workshop lessons that I have conducted with students all around the world, and those who have gone on to achieve first-class law degrees, not just in terms of their undergraduate, but also postgraduate qualifications. That being said, until the next time that we speak, have fun, stay safe, and as always, obey the law.